This was a design that I actually made earlier in true Blue Peter fashion. What I'm actually going to do now is just sort of look at the scenario of if you had a design and you were starting from just receiving artwork from a customer. So this is, although it looks exactly the same, this is actually a design that if you look at the bottom left-hand side, it'll actually say it's empty. Well, it doesn't look empty. It looks sort of like there's something in it. Well, but this bit where it says empty design, it's actually rated, it's empty in terms of stitches. All we've actually got there are some pieces of artwork. So we've got something that's pixel-based. So what I mean by sort of pixel-based is something like a JPEG or a bitmap, something like that. And what if I just zoom in, you'll be able to see that that's a sort of a family of images, a type of image that's actually made up of lots and lots of little squares. And each square has a colour and it has a size, but it doesn't know anything about the square next to it. So it's your eye that makes the relationship and actually says, that's got a satin border around the outside, or it's got an outline, or that says Wilcom 30 years. It's actually your eye that actually makes that association. The image itself doesn't really give you that information. It's just a series of coloured squares of a certain size in a certain place. The other kinds of sort of images are sort of vector-based, and they're quite different. What they are very, very similar to what I've already shown you. They're vector outlines, but they don't have any stitch information. So what they are, if I just click on that, you can see that's an outline. It's got colour, but it doesn't currently have any stitch information applied to it. So if I just go back there, if I received this kind of image from my customer, I've got a couple of choices. I could either take it into something like Coral Trace, and I could trace it so that after that process, I would endeavour to end up with something like this that I could use. So that's a process that you would have to go through. Or I could pick up my manual tool and I could digitise over the top. I'm using this like as a template. And literally what I would do is I would say I'm using my eye to make that association, and I'm actually defining that outline myself using my automated tools. Remember, we could say, well, okay, that's going to be the width, and then we can go through and put our different corners on, and we can go through that method. That's sort of, I suppose, the traditional approach with very relevant and automated features, but in terms of defining the shape, it's still a manual process. So what I'm actually going to do is just remove that, and I'm going to say, well, actually, in this particular instance, my customer has provided me with some perfectly good artwork. It's vector-based. Why can't I just take that vector shape and apply stitch information to it? And the reason is, well, yes, why not? Let's do it. So the way that you would actually do that is you would import your artwork into graphics mode, which is powered by Coral. So you get the benefit of all of those up-to-date formats. Not all of them are vector-based, obviously, here. Some of them are bitmap-based. But you would import a vector file, bring it up on screen, select it, and literally all you need to do is click on the Convert button, and it will convert it into an embroidery design for you. Okay, so if we actually make a comparison between the stitch count of this embroidery design, which has been done fully automated, in a fully automated method, which is 16,477 stitches, and if we compare it to my manually digitised one, where I've got 17,460. Now, I would argue that, in fact, this is not as good as mine. This has been done with a very, very intelligent part of the program that is actually going to be able to make decisions based on the Auto Fabric Assistant and based on that built-in intelligence that we're saying, take a vector shape and fill it with stitches. But it's going to be able to sort of make decisions that perhaps aren't my decisions. I perhaps would make slightly different decisions about that design, and I actually did make different decisions about that design. An example of that would be, if we look at the W, for example, in this particular instance, didn't mean to do that one. In this particular instance, you can see if I pull that W out, the automated method has actually taken out the stitches from underneath the heart shape. If you compare that to the one that I did, I'll just make it so that it looks the same, so you're comparing like for like. if I pull my W off, you can see that I didn't remove the stitches from in the middle of the W. And there's a couple of ways around that. You could either stop the software actually doing that in terms of the conversion process, or in fact what you could decide to do is say, well actually, I've got such a comprehensive program, it's so easy for me to edit, I just swap up those nodes out, and literally I've got like for like now. There's really no difference now between the automated method, just change that sequence, no difference between the automated method and, in fact, my method. Now, there's one exception to that, and this is my particular, I suppose, my particular thing in terms of making sure that we're maintaining quality. There's no point in me saying to you that every design you can trace, every design you can select, and convert it automatically, and you're going to get superior quality equal to that of a commercial punch house or a professional digitizer. That's simply not the case. One of the areas that I particularly feel is important to sort of point out, in terms of lettering, there is a convention in terms of embroidery of how lettering should look when it's embroidered. And this lettering that you're seeing here was made by the Wilcom automated lettering process. So it is automated. It is a sort of a non-manual method, but somebody who's actually gone through and digitized every single character within that lettering. So they've actually gone through and they've taken every single character within the Serif 2 font, and every time you press the key on your keyboard, it'll bring that particular character up. So that's already currently conforming to what we would expect from an embroidery design. If I look at the automated method, you can see that in fact it looks absolutely fine on screen, and it probably to most of your customers would be perfectly acceptable. So that's fine. If that's acceptable to your customer and you're happy with it, that's fine by me. Personally, I would choose to use my automatic lettering within the Wilcom program to create that lettering. And the way that I would do that very simply is I would just remove that lettering from there, and I would have created it in exactly the same way as I created that. I'm just copying it across the clipboard there. I pop it in there, and I would be much happier in terms of quality to provide my customer with that than the previous automated method. Now, there are lots of different ways that you can in fact get that conversion to in fact link with our automated lettering or our automatic lettering. I'll just show you that while we're in the graphics mode. You'll see that in fact if we create text here, you'll see something called tagging. And what you can do is if you do in fact have a graphic and it's already in vector form, you can in fact say, don't use the convention that you use for all the other embroidery objects. Use the convention that's based on our pre-digitized fonts. So you can in fact already say tag it to my block 2, and in fact don't just translate the graphic into stitches, actually link it through into our automatic lettering. And that means that when in fact I get this design, I'm going to be much more satisfied with the outputs in terms of what we've created. So yeah, I mean, you know, the automated process is not without issues in terms of some compromises to make. But what we have said is that we give you the control, we've built in the expertise. If you actually look at the stitch count there, for example, we've got 17,958 stitches there now. If we compare that to my manually digitized one, this took me about 20 minutes to make. Even with the changes that I made here, I would say this took less than sort of 5 minutes. Did it? I don't know, 4 minutes, 3 minutes? Didn't take very long at all. And I would safely say with those few changes that I've just made, that there would be very little to pick and choose between those two, whether I'd manually digitized it, which I did do, or whether I automated the process, which is what I've actually done in front of you there. Okay, so that's a little bit about the concept of Wilcom in terms of what we offer in terms of sort of embroidery solutions. We're looking at objects that have got information. They can be vector objects that have got stitch information, or you can apply stitch information. But the information that we apply in terms of stitches is based on a fabric type, it's based on a scale, and it's very, very important that we conform to those expectations in terms of quality. We've got a responsibility in terms of supplying something to you that's going to be easy to use and is actually going to give you a quality product. And we believe that's what we do.